Hey, what's
Yo,
happening? How you doing, man?
yo, that intro makes me feel like I should be sipping some wine and not some beer. You know what I'm saying? Like the rosé should be flowing or something. Like, yeah,
Well, I'm on
I
the
love
sake
it.
tonight, so yeah,
Ah,
and
yeah,
some nice stuff here. Yeah, I'm
on the
excited. It's
805 tonight.
it's been a while since we've been on the air, right? It's kind of
Yeah,
fun. We're talking about all this manifestation stuff and everything that's going on, man. How you been?
I have been fantastic. I'll start out by saying, like, today I made a sandwich with two kinds of meat on it. And then I was like, I need some chips, and I had two kinds of chips, and then I had two kinds of dip. You know what I'm saying? So I am living in abundance. I'm living a rich life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
I can feel it.
that's how today is. That's how
Yeah,
today
right
is.
on. Well, I'm excited about tonight too. We have Leo and we have YaYa, and lots of good, good talk and good stuff. Like we have Michael Bethwick and Oprah. That's a good one too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we talking art. We talking tea. We spilling
Culture.
tea
That's
tonight. You
right.
know what I'm saying? Like it's all going down here on Cali
Tea,
Cocktail
culture,
Hour.
love, everything that's going down. So we'd like to thank
Yeah.
everybody for coming out to Cali Cocktail Hour, the reboot 2022. Wow, it's been a while, right? Um,
Man, I don't know
yeah,
where 2021 went. I'm
yeah.
not sure it happened, but
Oh,
they
look who
told me
we have. We have Chris Macias. What's up, Chris?
what
I
they
was hoping.
do.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah, this has been yeah. Chris has been on Cali Cocktail Hour too, and
He's,
we appreciate Chris, man. He's a good writer and good human being.
Chris is the triple OG Cali
Yeah,
Cocktail Hour out here. Come
yeah.
on.
So, oh, look, we have what's this? Another Chris? A double Chris night.
The Chris's are coming in tonight.
That's right.
It's our
So,
our christening happening right now.
that's right. It's all symbolic, It's all the, yeah. We'd like to welcome you out there, and yeah, we appreciate you. Well, I'm trying not to say anymore. Have you figured that out yet, or no?
Good luck with that, fam. That's why
Yeah,
I do post production. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Just go in there, chop all that shit out.
I'm gonna make me sound smart.
Well, see, Ruben's also like a little because he's used to the show and the conversation being about guests. And while we have guests tonight, we're also gonna make sure we talk about Ruben's art and what Ruben has been up to. Ruben's been making some big moves and doing a lot of cool things. So we're gonna talk a lot about your art. You currently have a show up at Broadway Coffee, right?
That's right. And also, oh, sorry, I'm going to go right to that. But it's also because of YaYa and Leo. So, I'll probably dodge all the questions, but I'm actually allowing myself as part of the manifesting, right? And abundance and surrendering, right? They have two big pictures of me in the cafe. I'm like, I would never not normally do that, but I'm just going to say yes, and YaYa has also, raised my uh, value as an artist, I guess. If that makes sense.
Mm, mm, mm.
But and Leo, we've had a good. There's a good energy there at 3200 Broadway. So
Absolutely,
yeah, so a lot of
absolutely.
creatives. Actually, a lot of Chris. You need to go there. Chris, you need to go there too. Both Chris's need to go there. So, but we're gonna play one of my favorite songs here. We're gonna bring him up. Have you heard this guy before?
What an honor. What
Yeah,
an honor to be listed in that on that playlist, man.
but I
This song was composed and done during the pandemic just to kind of keep the vibration up.
yeah, so good. And Massey, tell us a little bit about it.
Man, so there is a certain frequency in there. I think it's a 528 hertz, if I'm not mistaken. Frequency that's like a cell regeneration healing frequency. And the song is just about like knowing the frequency and staying prayed up. Like whatever whatever you believe, whatever however you connect to your higher power, whatever that is, like making sure that you stay in touch with that and that you connect with that and take that time. So
Right
that's
on.
really what this is about. And
Cool.
again, it was written before the pandemic and recorded before the pandemic, and then kind of released during the pandemic.
Right on. Well, good. And then Chris says, I'm planning on dropping off by the show tomorrow. Cool.
Hey,
And there's gonna be some really cool really great Vietnamese food, too. Really good vibes. So lots of healing because I created a circuit of healing in there, and lots of good vibrations. And of course, coming up next, right after this wonderful song, we will bring Leo and YaYa up. So I think I should have had us help the. Oh, see, someone likes food. I like food.
Man, I've been thinking a lot about like how important food is in like reconnecting, because the
Yeah,
pandemic like really disconnected us as people, like it isolated a lot of us, and just how important food is in being able to reconnect, and just like commune as people. That food is going to be crucial.
it is. It's good too. I've had it. I had a lot of it. It was awesome. Are we ready? Let's go.
I came from somewhere in the stars, where it's more about the love than the money or the cars. Yeah. Going supernova in this bitch into a Ford Boulevard. Yeah. Too many OGs going soft for me not to keep it hard. Yeah. So I'm balling on this song, cause I understand that life imitate art. Call it only getting richer, cause when it come to this, we was rich from the beginning. Abundance in my blood, appreciation and love, gratitude when it comes, patience till it show up, yeah. Something about it feel right, something about letting it heal right. Now that you get it, you can get it. It's only steady coming, cause we never scared to spend it. You know the cash just a symbol, for all the prayers that you keep up in your temple. Think it up, magic is the instrumental, how it came to be from nothing. With that 2020 vision, this is manifested. Ain't nothing coincidental about the stacks that I'm spinning on the ship, never rentals now. I'm gonna show you how to do it. First you have to own this moment, then just let all the momentum add on to it. Say, cause it's more about the love than the money or the cars, yeah. Going supernova in this bitch and do it for the boulevard, yeah. OG's going soft for me not to keep it hard, yeah. So I'm balling on this song, cause I understand that life imitate.
Pause. I hope I didn't lose you moving too fast. Let me back up, because focus can attract what you desire or the lack of. You decide, the wealth attract more wealth, so what you got? Rough translation, only reason you ain't rich is cause you say you not.
Cause it's more about the love than the money or the cars, yeah. But the party stay lit and the vibe supercharged, yeah. Said there's gold in the bars, diamonds in the scars, royalty in the cards, yeah. Still got questions, ask your God, and bet they tell you who we are. Popping like I'm topping charts, healing healers' hearts, winning from the start, rich off of the art, yeah. I make all that I want, cause I make all that I want, yeah. Said I make all that I want, cause I make all that I want. I make all that I want, cause I make all that I want. When he asks me where I'm from, tell him somewhere in the stars, where it's more about the love than the money or the cars, yeah. Going supernova in this bitch and do it for the boulevard, yeah. Too many OGs going soft for me not to keep it hard, yeah. So I'm balling on this song, cause I understand that life imitate art, yeah.
All right, we're bringing them on. Everybody is on now.
Hey, what it do?
So if you can unmute yourselves, I think that would
Unmic
be,
your mutes.
Yes.
Saludos.
Saludos, everybody. How you doing?
Muy bien, muy bien. That was beautiful, Andrew. Thank you
Yeah,
so
man.
much.
I dig the vibe.
Appreciate it. So that wasn't Prayed Up, y'all. That was Somewhere in the Stars off the Frequency album. Available everywhere the music is streaming. Go stream it now.
That's right. See?
Sweet.
What I love about this place, is that, we all have our own frequencies, right? vibrations, and that's what the whole thing. That's why I was gonna pray it up, but then I was like, well, and I started listening to to this. I'm like, this is perfect. Um, let's see, was Christians I like to sell free FedEx weed. Okay, Victor is in the house. Always. Victor's from San. Victor's from San. He lives in San Diego. So.
They sell FedEx got weed out in San Diego.
I guess
That's
so.
humble.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. And thank you guys for coming out. And I know that it was quick. I think I talked to you yesterday, and setting it up. So Victor says, "Sup, Ruben and all." So, hello, Victor, out there, and thank you for coming
Victor,
up.
what up?
Yeah, and so it's gonna be a great show tonight. I'm excited about this show. It's been a while, and it is fun for me to do this and to explore the community and love and all that wonderful things. And I'd like to thank Andrew for just saying yes, coming on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I mean, I know all of you from very different walks of life, right? Like I met YaYa through Soul Collective years and years and years ago. I met Leah. Leah was my neighbor when like Classy Hippie first started, right above Soundcap. You know what I mean? So what brings the three of you together? Like, what's the common thread between the three of you right now?
Hustle.
We have
multiple lives in Oak Park. Returning to Oak Park, I think for the fourth time in my life of living all around Sacramento, and law of attraction times the three here in multiple universes.
Right. So
open walls and Leo's open heart.
That's right. Yeah.
Respect.
So
we have one more thing. We have another wonderful artist, Jill. Hey, Jill. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Hey.
And Victor said it's a border town with outgoing airtight buckets. So we are here for that. Yeah.
That's right.
Jill's been a G from the beginning too. Like I remember her when I was still back, like Andrew's neighbor. Jill's been putting in work. Respect to her art.
There you go. See, this is what I love about this. You never know who's going to pop in, and we love everybody here too. So.
Yeah, I think also the multiple caminos and círculos of intersecting with Ruben, also whether around food or whether around culture. And then now with Leo, it's like food and culture and safe space. I think that, our hearts led us to each other and our creative languages allowed us to give birth to these wonderful opportunities of bridging communities and linking generations and celebrating life, in a healing way.
Right on.
So, Leo, when do you take over Broadway Coffee? How long? That's like reasonably new, right?
Yeah, we're in our 5th month. I love the word takeover, but really it was a collaboration. Like the homie is, the homie's dope. So much of business is your partners. And I was never into really real estate. I enjoy building business. And so when I met a real estate developer and property owner, Charles is his name, it linked up immediately. So it's been 5 months, but it's been a beautiful transition from where I was before.
Dope. So, YaYa, you're kind of curating the walls of the spot, and the energy of the space there through.
Yeah, about how long had you already had your doors open, Leo, when I walked in? Was it 1 month, or you were in the first
15 days.
Okay, I wasn't that late then.
Game on.
I was universal time, as they say. I was in time, as we like to say in our indigenous circles. I was in time, not on time. I was with time. Time delivered me. Time delivered us. And so, within that 15 days of coming by for a cup of coffee, coming by for a cup of tea. Oh, and those sweets, that monkey.
Spider monkey.
Yes, spider monkey. Yes, shout out, spider monkey. lemon bars. Ooh. The magic that Leo makes in that tea definitely attracted me there. And I said, you know what? Can I just have a little heart to heart with you? And it was on a Sunday after working with our beloved brethren, who you also serve alongside Andrew, Armando, over at
Mm,
Cielo with clothes and food for everyone on a Sunday morning out at
yeah.
Plaza.
Also the homie.
I stopped by and I was like, "Sir, can I just like have 5 minutes?" And when I walked out, it was a hug and a handshake, and it was like, "I believe you. I see you. You don't need to bring me any receipts. I feel it. Just come with the art tomorrow, YaYa." And that was the artwork of Rose Sharon Oates, who hails by way of Louisiana. Her peoples are of Louisiana and Gambia and other places, Ireland. So yeah, Gambia and Ireland, and we met by way of Mama Linda Goodrich, and that's
Mm, mm,
where I found where I found myself as someone who could survive higher education, under Mama Linda Goodrich. And I
mm,
say Mama Linda because it's beautiful mother. I do have a beautiful mother, Mama Josie.
mm,
But on the
mm,
campus where you have to survive without your parents at your side being your cheerleaders, you need those elders there. And so Mama Linda was my rock there, in the house of dance, studying Catherine Dunham work. And Leo's a dancer too, so he can talk about that a little bit.
What?
Yeah.
Yo,
I'm finding
you
out about
dropping
he's
all
got a
kind of-
and he's got a poem coming up too. I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
bam, 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 bam.
yeah, so
Right?
so Rose Sharon is a daughter, also of Mama Linda by way of her son, Chelua, and she was living here with us. Thanks to COVID, she took a break from Oakland, where she had lived and raised her son as a capoeirista, as a massage therapist, as a youth worker, as an activist, and was living here in Oak Park like all of us. And she says, "You know what? I'm finally going to go live I'm going to go live on my land again in New Orleans." So I said, "Leo, can we put up this show so we can help the sister get home?" And he's like, "Let's do it tomorrow. Let's go." So that was it. And I said, "Could I do this again?" He's like, "Could you do this again?" And I'm like, "Can I get a residency up in here? All these beautiful walls." And he's like, "A residency, a curator? What's that?" He's like, "Yeah, let's do it. Teach me what it is. I'm gonna do it too." So he's like, "Wait, So we brought in
Dope.
some good folk to help us. Drusilla Miranda, who came with me by way of TANA, the Taller Arte de Nuevo Amanecer, under Malaquias Montoya, Maceo Montoya, and where Drusilla and Hobby, another silkscreen artist, shout out to Hobby Soto. They're my mentees, but they're also my mentors.
Mm,
Really
say
smart
word.
to flip
Say
your
word.
mentees to your mentors. Drusilla had graduated UC Davis, graduated with another master's degree from USF, I believe, in political arts. Sorry, I'm getting this messed up here. Political administration, public administration. Thank you. And so she helped me hang the first show and documented that process. And there we were, celebrating our lives as mothers, our lives as culture bearers, our lives as artists working with entrepreneurs, and Leo as a visionary entrepreneur, healer. So it was about blending and it was about blooming.
Mm, mm,
And from there, Leo was like, "So what other artists you got?" And then we came in with, Goss. And as you know, Goss is
Yeah.
fierce, bringing in, the
Hitter.
East Coast flair, and the style, the mystique, and the down to earth all together. And it was wonderful to work with him there at the space, celebrating his show. I had just worked with him at the California Arts Council by way of bringing him in as a panelist to review grants for the state of California. And he's like, "Man, I've never done this before. I didn't know this is how it worked. Man, this feels good." So again, you got to flip those mentors into your mentees, and vice versa, and learn. And And then came Ruben. Ruben was there the whole time watching all of this happen.
Like a crow in the tree, looking, waiting for a spot. I'm all cuervo suave. I'm like, it's time.
I'm going to take flight.
Yeah. And we also have Rebecca here tonight. She said, "Hey, Ruben, I need to meet all these awesome guests." Well, you will tomorrow. So come on down to the show at 3200 Broadway. Yeah, Rebecca's awesome too. She's an awesome person and a tequila connoisseur. So if you never know anything about tequila, she's the one. She's your person. So, and a wonderful. I think she's a dancer too. So, and she said, "Yay!" So
I just love those feathers. They're so beautiful.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Oh, sorry, is that Okay.
Well, if you are a dancer and you want to come down to Broadway Coffee, Leo is hosting dance workshops.
Oh,
I heard.
Shake your tail feather.
I got the first dance. Leo promised me the first dance. Okay. Yeah. No, and I appreciate them asking me to be part of the show too. I was in I quit my job, left my job over at Tower. Was the AGM of 100 people, and that's a lot of people to bring into your heart. I mean, I still did.
I felt like I thought you were the resident dancer there because you were just like glide. Glide out, put this fire out, put this fire up.
See, you got a dancer. See, you got to watch out. Rebecca's a dancer, so watch out.
Yeah.
Can you, Ruben? Can you talk a little bit about that process of being like an artist who holds down a job and kind of counts on this, right? Like you've always counted on this to be like that steady thing, and you're leaving this thing to like, I'm gonna take that step, to take that jump, right? Like it's kind of a free fall. Like what is that process? Number one, what leads you to that decision?
Well,
right? And then like, what's the process from there?
Well, here's what Victor says. Well, that sounds like a lot of stress to manage, right?
A lot of lives on the line.
It is, and during COVID, right? Andrew and I, we hooked up and we did, that way, not in the spiritual way.
Because like, you know what I'm saying? Like social distancing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's see. What time is show tomorrow? The show is from 12 to 5. Well, and the thing is, like, I think we did. I was doing Cali Cocktail Hour. I was like, we were both emoting in different ways, trying to help out the community in our own way, help giving our own time. And, I found that there was a lot of, I found my emotional intelligent heart during that time. And when I came back to work, I realized it was a little bit too much to ingest anymore, right? Because that's 100 people coming to me, and I have feelings, so I try to solve everybody's problem, so, and it's just a lot. And it came to the time where it was I had to make a decision. It was either me or the job. And I love Tower's an awesome person. I mean, it's a beautiful place. Jim's an awesome person, but it was more about that. And so I had to come to a I'll be honest, I was having a really rough time. Like it just overwhelmed. And that place it's a beautiful energy place, but it's also a huge energy place to try to bring back to life, right? It's like the phoenix, so you just get burned, right? And so I got burned, and I made a decision. I went to my Dallas roots and I surrendered. I said, look, it's either me or the job, right? And I made a decision where I had to leave, but Jim was very awesome, and he understands, I've had one, like I would say, close to a mental breakdown once before in my life, and I didn't want to go back there. And I think you learn from experience. You can say, okay, that's it, I'm done, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but in this whole thing, and it's funny, we'll talk about the metaverse and all that stuff too. But I made this art piece that's called Surrender, right? And it's the piece that I made right after I made this decision. Once I made this decision, it was like, okay, now it's time to breathe and let go. You made the decision, because I don't want to abandon anybody. That's the other part too. Right. But so, I left with the hope of, of that I could do it in the art field, right? To give my Leo's gonna laugh because it's Oprah, but there was a I think it was it wasn't Michael Beth. Okay, well, anyways, so there was a saying like when your personality comes to serve your soul, right? So basically, all the energy that I gave to everybody, and to this whole thing, I'm using it to for myself. I'm bringing it. Okay, it's time to to serve myself and serve my soul. And so I left. I had to go to Oaxaca to recover, and I really did recover. I was like, I was in a worse position than I thought mentally. So it took me a lot of times. I remember I just wake up in Oaxaca, close my eyes, and Mexico is my my time of healing, right? And I remember closing my eyes and attuning myself to the city every morning. I'm like, okay, I didn't go anywhere. I just stayed at the place where I was at my friend's house, and I just attuned myself. Day by day, I was getting stronger and stronger. So, and I started to allow myself, okay, this is what's going to happen. And I told myself, part of the manifestation, part of everything was like I was allowing things to happen, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to say yes because I don't have a job anymore. So then I got offered, but I had to go through this really intense, painful thing that I had to go through, but I also had to recover from it too. And I had all my friends came to my, that's a good thing. All my friends came to my aid, and so that was a really cool thing to see. And then, I allowed, then I got this, with this whole allowance thing, I got what do you call it, invitation to go to Mexico City to be with all these artists. And so and I said yes, and I didn't know what I said yes to, I'm like, okay, well, I'll do it, And so it got me to Mexico City to meet all these artists and the government of Mexico. And then then I started, I haven't had time to be in Sacramento yet for a period of time. And for me, it's like I need energy to, to flow before you chop it up. So, and it was cool because, I decided to get into this one podcast. It's a half-hour podcast, and it's Michael Bethwick and Oprah talking about manifestations and intentions, right? When I went back to Oaxaca, I had a goal of listening to Seed of the Soul for a month. Like that was my thing, right? It was like I'm gonna listen to this audiobook, and whatever happens, whatever it was about intentions. So the curious part about this whole thing.
Robert.
What's that?
That's 2 souls.
Yeah. So so the curious part about this whole thing is I've listened to Michael Bethwick and Oprah and all this stuff. So and then I was really having a hard time. Like, what am I going to do? Me and my friend were talking about intentions, and Melissa is the other co-host on the show sometimes too, or most of the time the founding co-host. And we're talking about manifestations, how we were in this stage of what we're thinking about. And then I got a phone call. I don't know. I forgot it was from YaYa or from Leo. Hey, can you put up a show in 2 weeks? I'm like, I guess so. I'm like, yeah, sure. Then I got COVID, right? And I'm like, fuck it. I'm just like going to paint. So I finished 20 pieces. And 20 pieces were old. There's a lot of pieces over there, right? But a lot of them are, the show's called The Tao of This and That, which means I just put things together in my life that have different significant, which are interchangeable too. So I'm here now. I have listened to this podcast for about a month now, right? Because you get little pieces like that, and I found it to be very helpful, and also it's kind of just looking in the universe and saying, I'm ready now. I radiate this, right? It's time, So yes, I was vaccinated twice and a booster. Yeah, and so but. In the weird part of this whole thing, and it's going to sound weird, but I was glad I got COVID because it released me again into the public. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, I'm vaxxed twice. I'm boosted. Now I have COVID. I'm like, cool, let's go.
Bulletproof.
Yeah. No, just kidding. But but it also alleviated some stress too that I didn't know I had. I was like, shit. Okay, just calm down. But. So really,
me when I had to survive it too. So.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. So anyway, so we're going back to this whole thing. It all became this moment in time that we all got together. Whatever happened, it was. Leo opened up his coffee shop. I went there. And we all kind of knew each other, kind of, right? But now we really know each other. So that was a beautiful part about this spot, and I'm going to put it up because I really think that it is a wonderful spot that that Leo put together, right? And it is at 3200 Broadway, right?
200.
Yeah.
Leo is there right now with your artwork right behind him, and the maguey right behind him too.
Yeah. So and so a lot of it has to do with being in the moment and looking down and looking at nature, taking the aura of nature, all the energy of nature, and there's a lot of negative things in the world, right? Everything goes like, but this place is like, this is really a big energy. There's a lot of energy there. So, look who's here, and here's another person we met over there, right? So let's so let's keep going. Like, and and the thing about this, I'm sorry, Leo, but 3200 Broadway Coffee and Tea is like the most creative place I've ever been to. There are people just walking through. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I'm like, okay, let's do this every time. Like, right?
Oh, you got to start when you put up the show. You can't just curate how it goes. You have to charge it. So Leo charges that place, I'm sure, every morning, and I'm sure he charges it before he leaves in a different way.
Yeah, man.
We were there together. That triangle, that circle. I told you when we left, like, all of these are going to find safe homes. All of these are going to help people feel connected, remember, have vision, feel seen, feel heard. It's going to help them. And you've already sold like 4 pieces, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and it's not about the cash. It's about the exchange.
Yeah.
It's about that part of you being in those people's homes as an altar, or being gifted, or being treasured, and investments. And like with you, when you surrendered, I'm like, this is about the community showing you that they got your back.
Yeah.
You don't show yourself you got your back, then your community is going to pop up and have your back too.
Yeah.
You
And,
have your back and love yourself as an artist, and
see,
we're feeding that every day.
Rebecca says, I can't wait to go, and it's all about vibes and frequencies, right?
Respect.
Yep.
What was the song about? Right?
Yo, that just what you're talking about, that the money is the energy, and it's an energy exchange, right? This is
God in action.
current. It's current as much as it's currency. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, yeah.
I mean, I think about the first couple pieces I sold was an angel and a crow and a tree, right? And I was like, okay, there you go. There's that is what, yeah, right. And symbolically, we can get spiritual. Like I'm trying not to be as spiritual. So I'm like, okay, let's just be concise.
Why?
Well, because it's like you can't.
Look, we all just went through the last 2 years. Folks either sat with themselves and got more spiritual, or if they didn't sit with themselves and they lost and they need some spirit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So don't hesitate to be.
Well, but I do love this one. It's all about vibes and frequencies, right? And there is, I don't know what is on that corner, right? I think we've all activated it, right, in our own way, right?
Yep.
I mean, Lewis make gin, right? Now, right? So, and it's a very, I walk out, I'm like, okay, we're going to do this now. Okay, we talk about the metaverse, right? That's a whole different story, a whole different world, right? And I do have an altar there, a digital altar that's a portal to the metaverse, right? And it's like this altar that I, designed that will be different next time, but also has a key to go into my NFT gallery. But it's more than that. It's about vibrations, right? This really is about, it's a glitch art. It's these vibes, and hopefully people will look at that. I wish it was bigger, but it will be next time, right? But I appreciate, I really appreciate you. I appreciate you 3, right? I really do. I love you guys, and
Love you.
so and I do, and I love everybody out there too. And this is kind of what we did at the show, and kind of like the Great Joy Hunt is also part of that whole spectrum, I think, which is I want to say an overlooked part in Sacramento folklore is these 2 shows, because we did it from our own hearts, and we gave to the we are giving to the community what we can, and bring a dialogue that hopefully we can pass it on too.
Well,
and
for the connection,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
I think both of those projects developed in the middle of the pandemic, where it was like, yo, I know I was alone, solo, with this little dog over here, for a year and a half, just me and this dog, right? So any way that I could find to connect, which has been an interesting thing, because I got really into social media for that year and a half. And now I'm trying to wean myself back off of it, because I've become so dependent on it, and it's a false connection. And I think a lot of us are kind of struggling with that because during the pandemic, we were so tuned in to our social media to see what was going on and have these conversations and dialogues. And all of a sudden, like, we can go back outside and have these conversations that are actual connection, right? And our brains get fooled. There's all kinds of data around the connections through social media not actually being fulfilling, right? They don't give you the same brain chemicals that actually sitting down and having a conversation with Leo or YaYa at the coffee spot do. You know what I mean? So I'm working on that personally, and I think a lot of us are trying to like work on that as well. And so having these spaces like this art show and like just the spot in general that y'all are running where people can connect, you know, that's been, as I think about the healing from the PTSD of this whole thing, the biggest, we need connection. Right? It disconnected us. The devil's disconnection. So how do we connect, and how do we having those spaces to do so is so crucial right now for the community and for all of us to just be able to reconnect and talk about some of the shit that we went through the last couple of years, you know?
And the visions that we have to you know, overcome it and to cleanse from it and to learn from it, right? Together, and to lean into each other again.
Because there's a lot of us who sat in that and we're like, yo, this capitalism shit is bullshit, man. I don't really want to do this anymore. I don't want to sit in this system. This system isn't working for everybody. And the more that we can sit together and have those thoughts, then the stronger we can be in those thoughts. Because otherwise you just end up back in the system being like, fuck, I can't beat this. You know, but being able to be around people that think like that and think outside of it and are dreaming outside of the system and dreaming those new, I don't even want to call them systems because I don't like that word, you know what I mean? But like dreaming of new ways and getting back to old ways, right?
Yeah.
So we have Lisa Avina from Portland, Oregon. Sacramento. Yeah, March 27th. So Lisa was raised here in Sacramento, so she's got the roots. Yeah, so, you know, like I said, this is great having everybody here. And everybody out there, welcome to Cali Cocktail Hour, the reboot 5.0. I don't know 5 what. But if you have any questions, please comment in the comment board. Questions for anybody. So we're going to go to Leo's favorite part of the show, which is now we're going to go to Michael Bethwick and Oprah. It's a 2-minute thing. We'll go in there and.
Why are you mad at Oprah, Leo?
Because I quote her all the time. I'm like, well, Oprah says. So I joke with them all the time. I'm like,
overdosing you on the Oprah.
Get your feelings. Get your feelings.
All right, here we go. We'll be back in a second.
Vibrational beings. You know, we're not just flesh and blood. You know, if you put anything under a microscope, an intense microscope, you can ultimately see that everything is vibration. And as the scientists are not telling us, there's information there, but it's not solid. It's always moving. So we're vibrational beings. So as you were just saying, when we lift our vibration to what we want to experience, it happens first on a vibratory level. And then it shows up and manifests in our life. So people who are holding on to rancor, animosity, they're slowing down their vibration.
Okay, just had an aha there. You're actually, when you recognize your vibrational frequency, you're drawing into yourself all the time, literally, the vibration that is most like what you're putting out.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Yeah.
You cannot, another way of saying is you cannot have what you're not willing to become vibrationally.
Ah.
If you do get it, you'll lose it.
Ah.
You see, this is why people, they'll win the lottery and they lose everything,
Yeah.
or they'll finally get the person they think they want to be with.
Absolutely.
They can't keep the relationship, or they'll get a modicum of success but can't hold on to it because inside they weren't vibrationally aligned. They really hadn't become it. So you can temporarily manipulate and get things, but to have it completely, you have to lift your vibration and become that in vibration.
Oh, that's so good. You need to repeat it. That is so good. Isn't that a look? Hallelujah! Hallelujah! That is so good.
You're not really attracting things to you. You're really radiating.
Ah,
It's really a
I
radiation.
could cry right now. I felt that so strongly. That's going to resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, you're radiating it from within out. It's like if I become the vibrational frequency of love, harmony, peace, and I'm radiating that.
That's the key.
All right. And that's kind of what I'm doing, right? With my art show, I wanted to radiate out everything, like how I feel and, all these different feelings that I had, too. Because every piece has its own story. Every leaf has its own returning to the earth, to feed us again, right? So, and I decided, to concentrate on putting out what I want to, what I want to receive too. I mean, there's a lot of negative thoughts too, right? We all go through that stuff too. And nothing's always pretty. But this time with the show, I'm like, okay, I'll do the show, and this is what I want to radiate out. I want to conserve this. I want to make this circuit with nature, right, and different ones. And it's kind of cool because I brought in a piece that Leo's like, hey, I really want this piece right here, right? And it was a lady. I didn't take her face, but she was in Mexico, and she was selling. It was cilantro, ajo, and then I think something else. But she was shaking the cilantro, but it also curved down. It's almost like a triad comes down to Leo's teas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
it's
it becomes
also
this,
teas.
right? Yeah, and herbs, right? And it's funny because and I'm like, you're right, Leo. That works perfect there. So it becomes this energy thing of like, right, and the thing it radiates out is what I'm putting in, and manifesting this show was all I can say. That is what happened with that. And this is actually the podcast that I listened to, and over again. I'm like, okay, until I finally got what the principle was, right? So the principle was I went through a hard time, but I had to find. I think they say that the possibility is much better than, or much greater than, the problem, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, shit, I got to do this stuff, and so that's where I came, and that's why I appreciate this show going on too. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So
I had definitely come from a place like that where I had to shed and move on and choose me over the job.
Right.
So that was very relatable, and just the welcoming that Leo you have for ideas in your space. You're like the openness that you have, and like the co-pilotness that you're ready to. We were like going back and forth, well, like in a triangle, co-charge, co-pilot, synergy. Like we were like. I felt like we were in class passing notes today when we were texting each other. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm folding up this little note, and sticking that little corner in like we used to do in school.
Yeah, man.
Swinging it over. But I really feel like we attracted each other at the right place and at the right time. And I think that's what your open door does for everybody that comes in there, because it always feels like a family reunion. People we've known for so long but haven't seen. Either COVID or job switching or relocating or what have you, and it's always wonderful.
A huge piece that's beautiful for that is I don't know any of you as far as your histories. Like I've been here a few years, and so I think I'm putting people in a room that I love, and then it's like, oh shit, y'all went to grade school together. Oh, word. Oh, all of you went to Immaculate Conception. Okay. Oh, got it. You guys grew up in Oak Park. Respect. I'm in your backyard. I'm happy that I can contribute.
Yeah, that part is the Oak Park being the place, the palm trees that we meet at, that intersection, that triangular again opportunity. Amaru, Jasol Amaru, my dearest and only child. He grew up at what is now Eatery, but it used to be called 40 Acres Art Gallery. And down below, across the street from the Christian Brothers School, where Eli and Khalil, the makers of the film that we'll be helping produce soon locally, there was a place there across the street that was the second house of what we had built inside the 40 Acres Art Gallery. And it was at one time, I think, the Mind Center for Learning. And what we built there at the time was called World Art Space. And World Art Space was a intergenerational residency space where artists from like yourselves, dancer, spoken word artist, visual artist. It was a house where I gathered 8 different artists from around Sacramento to be teaching artists. They had a residency. So they were paid to teach what they knew how to do, but they were also paid to make work of their own. And then we gathered 100 youth from all around Sacramento, but mainly the folks that had the first dibs were the ones that lived in the neighborhood, because we went door to door, right? That's the first thing we did.
Yeah.
We went door to door to make sure the mamas, the aunties, the grannies, the foster parents would come with their children, not just drop them off, come with their children to learn the language of journalism, through hip hop, writing. We had rap, writing, and revolution, to learn spoken word and to rap, on top of the songs that they were listening on the radio. They had a jazz class where they were playing, musical instruments and learning how to just begin to read music, but really how to feel it and play it by ear first, right? So they had both schools. They were painting in there. They were learning about altar making and their indigenous, connections. You name it, we had it and we built it. And Amaru was 2 and 3, 4 around all of this growing up. And so what a beauty it is to have some of those people end up at places like Soul Collective and become now the staff, it has been passed on to them, right? That work of what they came up in, what they found themselves returning to as young adults, now they're leading as staffers and as directors and as producers, right? So it's a wonderful cycle that you have, like you said, Leo, like you're new and people went to school together or raised their kids together. It's so wonderful to braid those times when we've landed, braid that together and to make a really wonderful, strong link.
Yeah, and also that's great. It's a great story too, but also to support you, Leo, because you have to survive too for this place to go, right? So we're gonna go on to what we have for you, and Andru, you're gonna click over where it says Leo 1, Leo 2, Leo 3, so you can go on and describe some of the stuff that you have, like the tea, awesome. Because we want to know. I mean, the art show will come up afterwards, but you're the one providing the space too, right?
Yes.
Too, right? So we all have to go out to Sacramento. Sacramento needs to support you in what you're doing. So we should go through this and explain a little bit about it, and Andru will kick through the pictures right here.
Man, that's a picture of tea.
Well, a little bit more than that.
With a dope logo. What are those herbs about over there?
Yeah, so we'll go through some of the pictures. And shows like what you have, and like like I said, what we what we have. I'll be back in a second. I have 1 second. So can you take it over for a little bit, Andru?
Man.
Okay.
So long story short, I got into herbs because I was really trying to figure out, after the military and dealing with PTSD and things of that sort, I went backpacking through like 27 countries. And as I was backpacking, I was really trying to figure out what human connection meant, And when I traveled, I ended up in England and they drank tea. And then I ended up in Korea and they drank tea. And then I was in the Middle East and guess what they drank? Tea. And so it blew my mind that this was not part of American culture. And from there, I went back to my mother's house and I was sitting on the couch and I was unemployed and I had nothing really going for me. And I said, I'm going to get into prosthetics. And so really, I ended up in California from New Jersey trying to find a school of prosthetics. And with prosthetics, what my main goal was, my ambition was to tap into the natural electricity of the human body and power, mechanical arms, mechanical limbs, things like that, that respect, you know, it was part of the job, and there's some things there with it. But I once created avenues of destruction. And not only did it destroy some other human beings, but it also destroyed some of my own. And I learned a saying of, you know, no master hasn't been bit by his own remedy. And war was my remedy at that time to answering things. And man, was I bit by it. So after I went traveling and I found this thing called tea, and I come back to America and we had no tea culture at all, it was way more simple than prosthetics. And yet it was way more complicated, because what I was tapping into was like ancestral medicine. And that was where I needed to be. I needed to really relate to the people who related to the earth and to the elements. And so that's really where these pictures of tea and things like that come from. Dog, I'm an herbalist. Tea came along. It became my remedy. It hit a few things. It was affordable, so I can bring it into communities that I was comfortable in. It was easily accessible, and so I could bring it into communities that I was used to. And third, I knew it had healing properties, and it was affordable. Fourth, affordable. So after these things, I was like, it's not prosthetics. I'm dealing in herbs now. 10 years later, we're growing our own tea. We're growing our own herbs, not only through traditional methods of, you know, putting a seed into the ground and really paying attention to the soil and working at black gold. But then we started getting into hydroponics, because I just happen to live in California, and California has different constraints than other places in the US, such as drought. And from there, we started working through hydroponics. And so I got to bring back in that engineering side that I was trained in and start playing that into medicine. And that is my past and my future. I don't know how this continues to evolve, but over the last 10 years, tea has been like a godsend. It's been the prayer that wasn't answered. I was looking for prosthetics and I found tea, and it's proved to be the remedy.
Yeah. And you were afraid to bring out your feelings tonight. What was that?
No, I love that.
That's a lot of feelings right there, dude. That's a lot. That's beautiful. You know.
I love those feelings, and I'm totally thinking about a gathering that's happening tomorrow to celebrate the Lunar New Year, and Japanese cultures, Korean cultures, Chinese cultures. I mean,
world cultures.
World culture.
Yeah.
That it's happening in between and after our event, right? So that's one thing that people have wonderful opportunities and options to go. And our show goes until the 27th of March, for those of you just joining. Ribbon show of the Tao of this and that.
What time does that start tomorrow?
12 to 5.
The 12 to 5 is the reception, but the doors open at 7 a.m. for people that have things to do and places to go.
Yeah.
Your family right here is gonna be on their bike going, zipping. I have 4 places almost at the same time or right after each other. Sister Maya's got put your money where your mouth is. So if you got to come in and get your tea or your coffee first thing in the morning, the doors open at 7 o'clock. And
look at this.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
What is it?
It'll be under Classy Hippie.
Classy Hippie Tea, 3200 Broadway.
Is it just at Classy Hippie for the Instagram?
At Classy Hippie Tea.
Andrew, you got that?
Yep.
See? That's what I love about this thing. Sorry. We're geeking out here, see? Oh, that's what we're about.
And thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and Rebecca, we'd love to see you, because I'd love to meet, not meet you, I already know you, but I mean, like, have you meet them, see? And we talked about, like, you wanted to, about the vegetables that you're going to grow, right, too, for the community and stuff, that too. And I think that's a very important part of what you're doing too. Mm-hmm. So can you give us a little bit of a background on that?
The vegetables are where we're going, but that still plays back to those 4 principles that I was bringing, affordable and things of that. So we're in a food desert. and I need my people to have fresh food, and the fresh food does what? It increases your frequency, increases your connection. And so in addition to, the hydroponics, that was my 2021. My crew like really went hard and we built out hydroponic systems. And then from there, we knew how to move forward into the future. And what the future looks like for us is we're getting certified as wilderness medics. So not only and thank you for the contributions that have already come in, but in addition to now growing our own food and knowing what the herbs are and how to utilize the herbs, not only for pleasure, but for medicine, now we're also able to take people out into the wilderness and instruct them in a safe manner. So that's where the future is going. And that's going to turn into a hospital, which now the hospital is able to grow its own herbs and produce for the pharmacy.
That's awesome. And I know that there's a lot of different. Well, go ahead, Andrew.
I was just gonna say, are you growing your own hops for beer or grapes for wine? It's Cali Cocktail Hour. I gotta tie it in somewhere.
Yeah. Respect. So I really like beer, and I don't enjoy beer as like drinking it. But what I do enjoy is that beer for a really long time was used as a digestive aid. It was a probiotic. It was drank before and after your meal to help you digest the food. So again, being an herbalist,
I remember in Ghana, everybody drinking Guinness, like all the elders and even some of the younger folk, a little bit before the food, a little bit after the food.
That's it.
That makes sense.
And in addition to that, so we have a line where we will add in what's the word I'm looking for? Carbonation to help with that. But we also have a line of mead that we're bringing in, because the honey traditionally not only protects the bees and it helps us our flowers and our local pollination, but as we know with allergies and things of that sort, honey is one of the main ways to get it into our digestive tract and help with our immune system. So mead was one of the main next things that we were leaning into.
Dope. And that's some ancestral shit for me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what my people was on.
Yes, sir.
So let me know. Let me know as that develops. You know what I mean? I'm here for it.
Yeah, man.
So where does the name Classy Hippie come from? I mean, clearly I can do the math, you know what I mean? But like, is there a story behind that?
Yeah, right next to you when we were neighbors, I was sitting up. We had just finished with an art show, and I was hosting yoga classes inside of my apartment. We could fit about 5 people in there, but it was starting to following. It was all about the momentum. And one day after the show, homie named Jill, she said, "Yo, we were putting them back. We were drinking," and she said, "Man, Leo, you are one classy hippie." I stopped drinking. I got my Honda Civic and I went to FedEx first, and I got a sign that said Classy Hippie. And I went on Fiverr and I was like, yo, I need a logo for this. And it was some dude playing trumpet. It wasn't the cup. I had no idea what it was really going to be. And then the second stop was that tea. And I went to Walmart and I purchased a gang of like celestial seasoning. And I was in the tea game, and I started like with chamomile, and I said, how many things can chamomile heal? I chose one herb for like every month. And by the end of the year, I had 12 herbs that became my toolkit.
Did you start working with any local folks that have been here in Sacramento for a while to play with, to sort of, before you went deep into growing your own, where were you accessing the tea and or even some of the knowledge? Do you have mentors in that area aside from yourself, teaching and learning?
Everyone's a teacher. I had a homeless lady come in and cuss me out because I didn't have sassafras. I thought she was drunk and like on some da 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 da. She was like, if you ain't got sassafras, you ain't real. She was from
Mm.
Kentucky. So I look up sassafras, and it's like it's the main ingredient in root beer. Another digestive.
Yeah.
You know, I had a Mexican family came in and saffron.
Yep.
And they were like, you ain't got saffron, you ain't got. I'm like, man, oh, yo, this is mad expensive. No, I don't have saffron. The butterfly pea flower, you know, dealing with my Asians and dealing with traditional Chinese medicine. So they were like, this right here increases the collagen in your body and helps you maintain moisture and remain young, where we're taking Botox shots. So each culture that I've studied medicine through has introduced me to their staple medicines.
Nice.
Down to like PMS and like Don Quai and, you know, just different herbs. Yeah. So really it's an international beverage that leads to international conversation, that leads to international healing, which leads to ancestral connection.
And you know, I had some good tea tonight too. Remember you gave
that puer, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, that was good. Yeah.
It'll have you running.
Yeah. And not, you know, at a good level too, at a balanced level.
It's balanced. Right? So in China, that's used for anxiety and depression. Yeah. It's known as a happy tea. Yeah.
Which one is that, Leo?
It's called puer. Puerh.
That's what you have it called at your shop?
That's the traditional name, but yes, it's still called that at the shop.
Okay.
See,
I recommend it.
Feels like the hip hop culture in the fact
900%.
You learn from being roasted a little bit. Yeah.
Yep. And it's spitting so much truth that they hate to love you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
It's the voice of the street. You know, coffee became what we're known as, but tea is still the voice of the street.
Well, it feels like coffee is almost like a function of capitalism. Like I know so many people that are just straight addicted to coffee. And it's like, I drink my coffee in the morning to be productive, to make money for my boss, right? Like where tea has always kind of felt like tea is like, folks take tea time in the middle of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like that's your break to get away from whatever's going on, whatever your work is, right? Like you sit down, you have a cup of tea. That's how you relax. I know folks who like at the end of the day, that's a must have is the tea. You know what I'm saying?
Sir.
So it feels like two completely different vibrations between the coffee and the tea sometimes.
Well, yeah, that's funny. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, with respect, you know, approaching this as an herbalist, tea, coffee, no matter what you're having, every herb has a personality. And if you're not in touch and able to communicate with that herb, you're playing with danger. They all have addictive personalities and they all want to be sought after. It's no different than a bad babe, you know? Yeah, caffeine's the same way. It wants to be attractive to you. So it's going to work its way to hook you. But if you're not in alignment with yourself, the caffeine takes over and you don't know how to regulate. But every herb is that way.
But remember what I said today? Like I switched over to tea, right?
Yes, sir.
And I was like, well, you know, you have great tea, so why am I drinking coffee, right? And I was like, well, and I've had different ones. I'm like, okay, you know, and I told Leo, I'm like, well, I like coffee, but you know, also I get too amped up, and I'm like, I lose focus, right? I mean, I just get amped up, and I'm like, just gone everywhere, right? And so we're talking about this. I'm like, well, you have such great tea. You know that I've every day I've tried a different one every day. You know.
Yeah.
So so it's a great place to go there and you know and try some really good tea. So.
Coffee is like a relationship in my 20s. I love the way it would push the throttle, but then I also love the way that it hit the brakes, and it always felt exciting. 10 years later, that's not the jam for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about driving slow, homie. I'm trying to see the trees. You know,
and the leaves.
So, and tomorrow night, you know, tomorrow day, we're gonna have is it? I want to pronounce it right. Is it Shay's Corner?
Shea Corner. Yes,
Shea Corner, yeah. Which is a Vietnamese pop up, right? At this point, fucking good. I mean, good ass dumplings.
Go hard.
That I had, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, so where did you find them, and how are they going to come up, and what are they going to serve tomorrow? They're going to be there from 11:30 to 12, to 5, I think, tomorrow.
So, as I mentioned, I've seen tea in a bunch of different continents and a bunch of different cultures. But the culture that most resonated with me was the Asian culture and how they practice their tea ceremony.
Yeah.
It was slow, it was intentional, and it was very observing of everything around you. And so when Shea Corner came along, I had been looking for an Asian company that I can partner with, not only to learn from, but also to pair the tea with and really create that house of healing that I had experienced only in Asia.
Yeah. So we're going to play a little bit of, they were going to come on the show, but they had a pop-up event, I think, at the Brazilian Center tonight. So it's all international, right? So we'll play a little bit of video of their stuff. Yeah. So, yeah. So Brandon shot a video, kind of his story. So we're going to play that out right now. We'll be back. And thank you, everybody, for coming out for Cali Cocktail Hour. Andrew, thank you for co-hosting. And we're learning a lot, I think, as we go along here. I think it's pretty cool. And we'll be right back. I'm just going to play this video of Shea's Corner. And come tomorrow, 3200 Broadway. Get some good food, some good vibes, some good tea. Great art, wonderful, beautiful
I'll
art.
be reading. I'm gonna come through and read tea leaves tomorrow.
There you go. See, all right, we need one of those, right? Okay, here we go.
I have no experience. They'll probably be really off, but I will still read your leaves.
Oh, look, we have another wonderful artist. I don't know if you know Colleen Craig, but she's a wonderful artist. I mean, she's got some great stuff coming out too, and she sells a lot up on here on these internets. So beautiful person too. So we are going to go to Shea's Corner, and he got a video for us, and we'll come right back. Okay, everybody, thank you for coming out, and we'll be right back.
Thank you so much for having me on the show today. I have been eating plant-based since about 2012, and since then I've just been honing my culinary knowledge and trying to learn as much as I can, really. It's been a long experimental journey since then, and I've made a lot of different kinds of food, but really my main goal has always been to diversify plant-based food, bring cultural authenticity to that food, and at the same time also bring plant-based options into my culture as well. That's really what spurred the onset of Jai Corner and why we do what we do today. I grew up eating a variety of different Vietnamese foods and Chinese foods and different Asian food, and I thought, how cool would it be to bring together the elements of different cultural cuisines and reimagine traditional Vietnamese flavors that I've grown up eating. Chai Corner started around early 2019, and since then we've hopped up around Davis, primarily inside of a boba shop called Lazy Cow, which served different milk teas and coffees and beverages. That's when we really started honing in on our menu and what we wanted to serve. We started making pho, we started making banh mi sandwiches and different rice bowls to complement those things, and ever since then our menu has grown, so much so that we wanted to expand and move over to Sacramento. So we found a property in Arden, and it's been a treacherous journey since then, but we're making it happen, and we're hoping for mid-2022 to open up. So what we hope to serve during our pop-up is different Vietnamese banh mi sandwiches, our pho, and also a variety of different appetizers, and we hope everyone enjoys.
I'm hungry.
There you go. I know. There you go. See? Some good stuff there. So
and I had those dumplings. I just ate them today. It's Friday, and we did the pop-up on Monday.
Yeah.
Still good.
Yeah. Oh, good. Because I love those things.
They
Hope you have a second chance because I missed it. So.
Oh, it was good. Yeah. It was a good stuff there. So. And they'll be there from, same time. So, yeah. So.
Respect, and I just want to say thank you all for the influence that you've had in, my journey. And I've met all of you at different points of the journey, and all of you have been extremely influential.
Yeah.
And and that no time did it come down to money. It came down to, I'm available to rock with you. You seem to be a really dope human. I got time for you.
Nice.
And we made the time bubble.
Yeah.
So
Andre, you want to read this quote right here too?
Thanks for hosting this, Ruben. Andru Defeye is the legit rapper according to Google. I haven't been following music in many years. I just listen to old 80s music because it's easy to find quality music that way. Hey, I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? Siri doesn't know how to pronounce my name, but Google says I'm legit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's it.
Hey, Victor, thanks for coming out, Victor. Yeah.
I will also say, you know what I mean? Like, Leo's always been someone that I think the community, you know, I'm a weirdo. You know, I've suggested some outlandish things to people over the years to do in their spaces. Leo's always been like,
let's go.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, why not? You know, and I think he's done that for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
That don't have a chance to get into some of these spaces, or you know, like you know, just there. We run into a lot of gatekeeping here, and Leo's always kind of been a dude that was like, yeah, sure, let's try it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and really gave folks a spot to be experimental. And I think as creatives, it's so important that we have those spaces that aren't so much pressure.
Yeah.
That I can't do something experimental and I can't try something new because I have to do the formula I know gets X amount of people into the door so that I can pay this amount of money to get, like, it's like, yo, that really crushes some of the creativity sometimes. So to have spaces like that, you know, I'm super grateful for every space in Sacramento that's allowed me to come in and be like, well, I got this idea, right? And like, you know, let us kind of roll with it. And, you know, me and Ruben were talking earlier about, you know, just the ability to have what we call moral victories, right? This comes from Soul Collective. Like, we would put together ideas early on that we were like, yo, this is a hitter ass lineup, you know what I'm saying? And then Sacramento wouldn't know who it was, or they wouldn't show up, they wouldn't come through, people wouldn't attend it super well, but it was like, yo, that was still a dope show, you know what I mean? That was still a moral victory. Like, we did something dope, whether or not people attended, whatever the money looked like, it was still, we created something tight.
Yeah.
And every time that I've ever worked with Leo, it's been like, yo, let's create something tight, not, yo, let's make X amount of dollars. You know, it's
what?
It's
wait a minute. Well, my experience with Leo is like, you better make me some fucking money or get the fuck out. No, I'm kidding. You know, and we like to give a lot of, actually on that, what's that?
Many hats.
Yeah, and on that, you know, we love to give a lot of love to Estella for her, you know, beautiful contribution, right?
Go pick up that new album, y'all. That Worldhood, that new Worldhood.
That's a good album. Yeah.
Fire.
Yes.
So and Teresa said hola, Teresa, and then Colleen said I grew up in Oak Park in the 80s. Good to see beautiful people doing good things up there. Yeah, and we got another heart, right? So yeah, and like I said, you know, it's a beautiful connection there.
Can we also talk? Classy Hippie was involved in. I saw the "I Love You" campaign during the pandemic. Push out. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, shout out to the big homie Chuck who did the design on that. Like, but like, what was the importance of that? Because I'll tell you, I had a thought of like, yo, like, why aren't there "I Love You" hoodies for dudes that are like these masculine? You know, everything is very feminine, right?
Yeah.
And then the homie AC dropped his design with the "I Love You" graph hoodie, right? And then I saw what y'all were doing with the signs, and they started popping up everywhere in Oak Park. You know what I mean? There was a little. So can you talk about that campaign and what y'all were doing? Because I know I felt it in my heart, and I didn't even know exactly what was going on, other than Windows started saying "I love you" in Oak Park.
Man, long story short, I was inspired. There's some business partners that I had. Brian Fisher, Mylin, Tompkins.
Shout out Cap City. Yeah.
The original Cap City crew.
Jason John.
Yeah. I was sitting back and I seen this, and I seen Oak Park getting tagged like with graffiti, but they were tagging it with "I love you." And I was like, All right, I'm gonna reach out to a few cats and see what we can do. So I reached out to AC, asked him for a design. Um, Things didn't quite work out. I reached out to Maylin. I asked her, yo, what do you think about this? She was like, yo, run for it. Find love in everything. And she put these hearts up and, you know. And from there, I reached out to the Oak Park Business Association. They said, okay, all right, it sounds good. And I mean, we were hurting, man. Like, we were hurting.
Yeah.
And I had like $3,000 to my name. And I went and bought $2,500 worth of billboards, pretty much. And I went to every business owner in Oak Park and said, would you be down for everything going on? I appreciate people spending money, BLM, all these movements that are happening. But really, we need to spread love. And that's where the campaign came from. And we put our own money behind it. We linked up with some local artists and graffiti designers, things of that sort. Looking to turn the hood good, respect Israel Farms. And that was it, to be honest, Drew. It's been 2 years and there's still I love you signs up. And from there, we even started to acquire more of the buildings as Classy Hippie, including Broadway Coffee, to continue saying I love you and really focusing on Oak Park to do that.
And it's so powerful to like drive through the neighborhood and see that in multiple
the
places,
hood
in multiple fonts. You know what I'm saying? But that's where you're gonna see it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where the love really is. You know what I mean? That's like where the neighbors actually know each other and give a fuck about each other. You know what I mean? Like, so it was really beautiful to see that vibration really centered in Oak Park and radiating out of Oak Park into the rest of the city. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like shout out to you and thank y'all for that and all of the artists who were involved in that. Like, that's a big vibrational lift to put that on street corners and where, at the time when people were driving by, I know exactly the graffiti you talking about with the I love you. That's right down the street from my house. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, man.
And like, I would drive by every time and be like, yo, damn, you know what I'm saying? I needed that shit today. You know what I mean? So it was so
respect to that.
To see.
And I really want to emphasize, oftentimes the crew you start with isn't the crew that you finish with. And when you're working with artists, sometimes things can get a little touchy. Yeah. So a lot of the
artist feelings, yes. Artist feelings.
Man.
You got feelings, dude. You got feelings.
A lot of the people we started with on that project weren't the people we finished with. But at the end of the day, we had to spread love. And I'm happy that at the end of the day, we all get to spread love.
See, and Colleen says, Leo, thank you for creating all of that. So beautiful.
Yeah, I want to lift up the name Michelle Walker. May she rest in power. At one time, we had a supreme vibrational being running the Sacramento Metropolitan Arts Commission when it was called that. And under her leadership, Black Indigenous woman from La Puente, LA, really, really rooted in Indigenous thought and Buddhist practice, a dancer, a ceramicist, a mother of Andrea, and just a believer in Oak Park. And that's why we put World Art Space and smack in the middle of where this triangular district is now, right? And so the point of that process of creating that residency for emerging young artists or young people to acknowledge themselves as artists versus the denial of being an artist, and staying in the box and being told like you're not a good artist, or you don't know how to draw, you don't know how to stay in the line. It was to defy that. I'm going to steal your defy right there a little bit. It was to defy that young people had been told that they weren't artists, that they weren't creatives, that they didn't have what it took to be that revolutionary voice. And so it was about putting that love and that revolution back into play, back into action by, again, the synergy of emerging artists, young people of all ages with their relatives in the space, and then with artists who had training, some street training, had Mike Rod in there, and other we had Padilla in there, we had, you know, the Latours in there, we had wonderful artists that still are making art today with their children, you know, as creatives here in Sacramento, really bubbling up those creative forces and the ability to speak to each other cross generation, cross
Yeah.
you know, binaries, cross cultures, all of that through the languages of art, you know, and
Yeah.
having it up on the SMUD walls or having it up on stage at the fair, and just seeing their work published, hearing their work published, you know. So
And
yeah.
yeah, Andrew and I were talking about your parents today.
Mm,
You know, how much, you know, we need to shout out to them
um,
and love to them too, right?
yeah,
Man,
and
So
Mama Josie and Papa Andy, they be
that's right.
rocking it.
That's
you
what
know,
I'm saying.
you know,
Yeah.
you meet people and you're like, oh, that's how they got to be like that. Like when you meet YaYa and Dom, you're like, man, these two, how did they get to be so creative and so giving and so like they feel so big and they do such big things for people? And then you meet mom and pops and you're like,
Yeah, see? And see, and
it makes sense.
yeah.
Givers,
And
love
that's what I
it.
mean. And I think that's the people that we, you know, need to really give our heart to, right? And our thanks to your parents who brought you to, but I've always seen them everywhere, right? I never really met them
I
officially.
love that they followed me here. You know, the way they
Yeah.
got here and my brothers got here. Dominic and Joseph were both born in San Jose,
See?
and we had to go back home to take care of their parents. You know,
Yeah.
my dad's papa, my papi Joe, was, you know, fighting cancer. My mom's mom, Grandma Frida, was, you know, fighting those, like you said, you know, those nervous breakdowns, those heartaches of making it on their own with their entrepreneur restaurant, you know, farm to fork before it was cool, you know, in the 80s. And they were like, we can do this, you know, and we had to go home so that our parents could help their parents.
Yeah, right?
So our parents were models of, you know, being selfless. And so we kind of know no other language. And, you know, sometimes it hurts and sometimes it feels great. Like right now with you all, it feels phenomenal.
Yeah.
But you know, Leo knows, like, sometimes it hurts, you know, being a giver and a healer, you know, like all
Yeah.
of you, you know,
Yeah.
you take care of people with your words, you know, with your hospitality, you know, with your language. And so
And hair. Some
yeah,
people
it's just
Sorry. I'm not going to release it yet. Only at the end of the show I release my
Okay.
hair. That's
But
part of the
yeah,
show.
they're definitely the ones that guided the way and showed the way. And you know, when I said I wanted to come to school out here
Yeah.
because of a conference that I had attended and my brother got to attend, they're like, "Oh yeah, you want to go to school out there? Okay, we'll go with you." But I had been begging them, you know, to come back to Califas
Yeah.
so that I could, you know, attend art school, because I was like, you know, drill team is cool, but it ain't the ish, you know, like I want to dance in the studio, you know, like beyond this little border town studio.
Yeah.
Like I want a big stage, you know. And
Yeah.
when I said I was leaving at 17, they're like, we're gonna go with you. And so it was like that Chicano Beverly Hillbillies coming out, you know, like everybody came, you know,
Yeah.
and my brothers were like, thank God you got us out. Because you know, they were
Yeah.
doing their Californication thing in the barrio of San Felipe, where my parents and my sister
Yeah.
were born. But they were
Right.
California boys, you know, and they wanted to come home. And
Mm.
yeah, we've all been here, and like we all live in Oak Park, which is
Yeah.
phenomenal.
You know,
one
which is yeah, which
sister lives in Midtown. Excuse me.
yeah.
And then, whoops.
Yeah.
Sorry, my voice.
Teresa said so much love. I really didn't mean to do
So
that.
much love.
Yeah, and it is true. There is so much love up here, and I appreciate both. You know, I mean, all three of you. Both of you.
There was so much love that Ruben's voice changed to
I
Barry.
know. I was like,
you
dang.
know what I'm
I was
saying?
like,
It
yeah.
automatically just dropped a few octaves. So
Yes.
can I ask YaYa while I got you, like, you're someone who like has these practices kind of in place. You're someone who has those practices that I look to, and when we talk about, you know, kind of being an empath and feeling other people's energy and just picking up the energy that's around and it being heavy and hard sometimes, what do you do to keep yourself protected and to keep that bubble around your energy and keep yourself good? Like what's your self-care regimen?
My self care is definitely inversions. backbends and ragdolls.
Word, word.
Are my go-tos. No, back in my day when my knees and hips were a little bit stronger and I wasn't carrying all that I'm carrying right now, which I lived in backbends. I would walk up and down the house in backbends. I was the spider, and I would also, I loved the centipede. Those were the good old days. These days I do it on a yoga ball, or against
Word.
the wall. I'm a little bit kinder. But no, my time really is like listening to my son, spending time with my son, spending time with my nibblings, and just listening to these young people. And of course, spending time healing my mom and dad with my hands, with what my great grandma passed down to me. And just like Leo said, centering and coming down and being chill. Also like Ruben talked about, like just being still and attuning with what's around and trusting that I don't always have to be at all the places, that all the places can come to me by a phone, by a text, just by vibrations.
Yeah.
I love spending time with the founder of Ma Series Arts, up in Auburn, up in that water, literally, I call it literally rolling down the river like the great Tina does. Because I let those rocks, those Nisanan, rocks massage me into my better existence. And floating, thank you to Sister Maya, has me floating. I love to be in the water. I'm a Scorpion, so I'm at the Y. My son's got me at the Y now, so I'm like, trying to swim it out or, do bar work across, water and stillness. Hammock time, not hammock time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah of Libra Mobile. I spend time with the stars.
Yes. What up, Sarah?
My bike, even though Mr. Harley White laughs at me when he sees me jumping on my bike, he's like, cracking up that I'm finally getting on my bike, but bike is good.
Yeah.
YaYa, you speak of, Ja, and so in so many high regards. And, today we had an interview. It's been one of 3. And I enjoy that, because I know his family now, and I know his uncles, and not just one, but a few. And I know his grandfather. And so I'm starting to learn the line. And today he came in with a very strong ask. He was wanting, and he spoke up very accurately for what he wanted. And I said, no. And he looked like, but what's up? Like, I thought this is what I manifested. This is what I had in mind. I said, that's not your lineage. I'm here to give you options. You're too young to take the easy way out. And he said, man, my mom said options. And in the middle of the interview, now he wrote me and said, yo, what's up, Leo? So you have that rapport. But in the middle of the interview, he said, oh, man, my mom said it's about options. And he sat back. And no longer was it a challenge because I was in alignment with his family. It preceded him. And so to that, seeing lineages, it's something that's missing. And it's something that's still very present through some families. So I thank you for that. And I thank you for the option of being able to have that conversation with such a bright young man.
Oh, give thanks.
Yeah.
He's been through a lot. These young people, they go through a lot and they find their way in their own way, Drew. And he's a really beautiful teacher of reminding me to slow down, to be there for myself and to be there for him. Because for so long, I was out there in elementary schools. At Marian Anderson is the first place I had a residency at age 19, I think. And, by the age of, early 20s, I was, Sean Berner and got him over at Grant High School when he was probably only 19,
Wow.
Doing his first mural. And, Padilla, same thing. And Garibaldi, same thing. They were in their late teens, but because I got in as a late teen, then I was like, they can do this now. They don't need to have a degree. They know how to do this. So I was able to advocate, thanks to Michelle Walker, and Alpha Bruton, who's out of Chicago. And Alpha Bruton was one of the engineers behind Celebration Arts, their logo and their makeup there. She was a visual artist, and they worked a lot with Shona from Sojourner Truth Museum.
Mm-hmm.
So I had, and from a very early age, access to them. And before them, age 15, before that, that was my Royal Chicano Air Force time, and my first, show exhibit and being a part of and co-piloting was, age 18, 17, 18. And that's when I started making theater in this town.
Yeah.
And so great to finally direct over at the Celebration Arts space, with intercultural members of this community, like outstanding actors, outstanding artists. And it was just, it's many full circles, many full circles in this time.
Many.
And I want to thank all three of you. I really do. And I want to set out the love
Thank
for you
you.
guys out there. And you for everybody out there that, comes to Cali Cocktail Hour to, to listen. Maybe not to sit back, in the veers of the internet, but listen to us talk and, emote ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciate, what we've done and what we're going to do. So, and because there's a lot of creative people here in Sacramento. And unfortunately, they have to leave sometimes because they can't make money here, right? Or they can't make a living here, and that's one thing that Andru and I were talking about too, right? I mean, I'm at that point too, right? I have a little bit of gifts here and there to, or a little bit of things I could do, but people, the creatives deserve it. I think people, we've realized in the pandemic that the people that got us through this thing were not politicians, they weren't the business people, they're actually the creatives, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what we need to emphasize, how much we really are a part of the community and part of that mental health structure too, without so.
And the politicians realize that too. You know what I'm saying? They know that they need the artists, like after this PTSD that we all been through and after this traumatic episode, to like heal the community. They ain't gonna be able to heal the community. They can't stand up. They don't have the heart for it. You know what I'm saying? They don't operate from the same space that the creatives do and that the artists do, and they know that. And I can say that because I've had the conversations with them around this of like, how do we create these spaces for healing, right? Like, and they know that they need us. So it's really on us to make sure that we're demanding what we deserve. You know what I mean? Like every artist in this city who's contributing to this city shouldn't be struggling to pay their rent. You know what I mean? And whether that's like rent control or more funding to the artists or both of those things going on at the same time. You know what I mean? There's a whole lot of money we could take from the police and give to the artists in this city that would solve a whole lot. You know what I mean? But like, we're working on it.
Yeah, speaking of phenomenal artists, Faith J. McKinney, please visit their gallery.
I think I talked about me. I'm like, oh, thank you very much, but I mean, actually, this show is about me, right?
We are at your show.
Oh, look at this, Andru. See, much respect from San Diego.
Yeah, right? Talking about your show.
No, go Faith. No, go about Faith because she does great stuff in this community too. So
yeah. I mean, speaking about your show, for those who joined us, you have until the 27th to see it multiple times. But the opening is tomorrow from 12 to 5.
Okay.
And we've got some wonderful comida there, Vietnamese food, right? And
sandwiches. I'm reading tea leaves.
Dumplings.
Yeah.
And with respect, we got Afghan represented too.
Oh, and you got
Afghan
rotis
flatbreads and
so
dips.
Good.
And
where? Oh, yes, that's right, huh?
He's got the rotis all the time.
Oh, we got rotis going? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Rotis with 3 sauces. Jalapenos and, the yogurt, the pesto.
Ruben, one last, I just want to make sure I say that too, man, because you held a very, very, very prominent position in the community working for the restaurant that you used to.
Yeah.
And when I say prominent position, when cats who were on the come up were like, hey, how do I get in? Ruben was our dude. And Ruben didn't turn his eye to or back to the community. It was like, yo, if you can do this and you can meet these standards. And I didn't like the first 3 months. And it was boom, boom, boom. This is what we need. Hey, let's work on your packaging. Hey, thank you.
That consulting,
Oh yeah.
Because from there, now not only did like we land grocery stores, but we're also in like 8 different restaurants now. But that was the first restaurant that I had to understand the standard, and someone had to coach me through it.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know you then.
Yeah.
Respect.
Thank you. Yeah. And it was Donna too.
Yes.
Donna was very meticulous about the packaging. You know, I was like, let's bring in Hippie tea. That'll be great. You know, blah blah blah. We'll support. we'll be a support on Broadway, right?
Yep.
And Jim's like, oh, sure, let's do it. You know. And so and you know, it all became a synergy of like stuff like, okay, let's do this, and you know, because
I got a thing for Donna.
I know. That's why I said that too. But yeah, and you know, like I said, you know, Broadway is a force to be reckoned with. Even though we may not get that, I mean, well, I'm part of it again too, but we may not get that respect. But Broadway, the whole thing is like this. Yeah, Midtown's cool, blah blah blah. But Broadway, right? Broadway has like all of the international restaurants, right? I mean, it's got Annie Newlands and you know everybody that's coming in now. You know,
Queen Sheba.
Yeah, Queen Sheba, right? And right. And people don't even know that. You know, like I want to go to a vegan restaurant. I'm like, okay, the new one, a new one to open up in Midtown. I'm like, sorry, that is not as good as Annie Newlands or Queen Sheba. I'm like, go to them. They really do the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
And they're not like I don't want to say they're posing. They're not like creating this new thing where it's like, how would I respectfully say this? You know, sorry.
Fighting.
Yeah, right. This is the food that their family ate, right? This is the food that, you know, and it's so good and so many different flavors that there's no imitation, right?
If
and
I
you have
put it in an old ZFG, Phil. We out here. That's what I get from the restaurants on Broadway. It's not just that they're restaurants. We out here.
Yeah.
You see them in the streets. You see them protesting. You see them.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing about it. It's like I understand, you know, that's what it is too. Like you go down Broadway, it's like this is where you should be coming, not inward, right? Because inward is like the trendy. You know, we talked about like, you know, when I was a kid, right? I told people like I grew up poor. My dad was Mexican. Well, my dad, of course, he's Mexican, but he was a farm worker, right? He was a farm worker. He did everything. He did little things here and there, like little jobs, and I was, you know, he picked vegetables and we'd have some left over and I would go and sell vegetables to the neighborhood. You know, I was embarrassed. I was a little kid on welfare, you know, and soon have it. Yeah, on next Broadway. See, Broadway will be the one, right?
Yeah.
Shout
out to the Artners.
That's right. And YaYa, you know, YaYa's right about like I always tell people like, had I known that having a garden, right, and having chickens and recycling was cool back when I was growing up, I would have been a different childhood, right? I just thought we were poor Mexicans, right? And so, you know, it goes back to where, you know, your self-worth and what you grew up with, right? Because now we look back, you know, and I look back at the show that I'm doing and I'm just seeing the leaves in there. I'm like, well, the leaves and the tea, right? The tea leaves, right? How symbolic that is with the trees and everything growing in there, you know, and looking back at all of us, right? How I met Andru, how I met YaYa. I mean, I'm getting to everybody in a space that is a pretty incredible place. And I think Broadway is a really incredible place that people that, you know, they're not just giving. Yes, I think you see the other side of Broadway, right? Where Old Soul is and all that stuff. And I'm not going to say anything about that, but I'm saying like that part is not, that's the new part. That's like the trendiest, you know, a little bit of a, I mean, you know, that's a different spot than the other parts of Broadway, right?
I was at the Black Book Fair a couple of years ago, and a couple of the OGs walked up and they said, "Welcome to Oak Park Light." Over here by the triangle. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. So,
yeah. I think you know from
you know who I am. Let's bust out a poem for you, right quick.
Yeah, and I mean that in a very respectful way. You know, I mean, like I just like that side of, you know, like from 30, I'm gonna say from 3200 right there, right. That is the border, right?
Yeah.
Is I think that spot right there from that part to the other side, all the way to Miller Park, is like a very unexplored place, right, and an unappreciated place in Sacramento but it has the best food, you know. It has the best culture.
So the low riders come.
That's right. Well, that's right.
Someday, come get
And
it.
I had somebody like complain about the lawyers. I'm like, they're so loud. I'm like, dude, they've been here longer than you have, so shut the fuck up.
Hello.
So,
All right. I was just gonna pull this up. Really.
Okay.
Can you?
Crossed the border, the borders crossed us.
So, and Craig and Leo just met this week too, right? And they both are growers. And Craig grows agave in California, right? One of the first ones to grow that. And they talked about growing stuff, and and California's a beautiful place, And
What's up, Craig?
yeah, Craig. Yeah. He bought some cool stuff
Ruben
with me
said,
too.
Fuck
Yeah.
George Clooney. He's off the show. We only doing local around here.
Yeah. And I really do mean that with respect. I mean, I'm a native of Sacramento, so I don't mean to like be unrespectful to anybody else, but I'm saying like just
Except George Clooney. Fuck George Clooney. You know what I'm saying? Like what's he ever done for us? You know what I'm
He's
saying?
came here one time, that was it. Yeah. So yeah. See, Brad said that the Tick which is at Tower Cafe. He's so pissed that they take off the menu. So
I thought he was saying that George Clooney had the Texarkana.
Hey, Ruben, did I ever tell you that in my 20s I worked for Jim as well?
Mhm.
I did. Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So
I think I was about 21.
Yeah.
Or 20. Yeah.
and that's someone else we need to talk about too later on.
Yeah.
But anyway, so and I do appreciate all of you, and appreciate the fact that you gave me the chance to put on this show too. So, and
it's a pleasure to serve and work alongside and learn from you.
Yeah, and then we'll go into the metaverse. We'll go into all that talk, like go into what's going on. And you know what I did learn today, Leo? Just so you know, McDonald's put out this thing.
What?
That you can order in the metaverse, but it'll be delivered at your house.
What?
Right? Which means you learn from the corporates what they're doing, right?
Which means there's power in being second.
Right? There is. There really is. And see, Prince came there one time too. Yes, I met Prince there at Tower.
The Tower? What?
Yeah. Can I tell you what happened?
Yes.
So
I'm game. Like,
okay.
What?
So here's the story, right? So I'm the manager at Tower Cafe, right? Some guy, the cashier or the counter person goes, "Hey, Ruben, there's a guy on the phone. He wants to ask you a question." And I said, "Okay." I get on the phone. I'm like, he's like, "Hey, hold on. Actually, let me do this right here."
He's like, "Hey, man, I got this this guy here that wants to really come in Tower, and he wants to own room. He wants to check it out, but he won't tell you who it is." Right?
And I'm like, "Well, okay, well, I can't just give you a room. You need to tell me who it is." He's like,
"But I can't tell you who it is."
And I was like, "Well, I can't give you the room." Right? And he goes, "I'm like, who is it?" He goes,
"It's Prince."
And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up, dude. Everybody knows I love Prince. That's my favorite artist." Or I'm like, "No, this is not Prince."
"Yes, it is. What's going to happen is I'm going to come in. I'm going to check out the place. Right? I'm going to come in and check out the place. We'll talk." Okay, I said, "Okay, come on in."
Right? And he comes in, checks out the place, and he goes,
"This is what's going to happen. I'm going to bring Prince. He's going to think about it in his car and think about if it's okay with him. And if he does think about it and he likes it, he'll come in."
I'm like, "Okay, all right. Well, if it's I'm like, fuck it. I'm like, I don't care. I mean, what the fuck? We have room here." So he comes in, and he
Did he take the bakery or did he take the?
he took the bakery. He took the bakery, right?
Yep.
So so he comes. Yeah.
So he comes, and Prince is like sitting in the fucking SUV right in front of the Tower.
And I'm like, "Okay, dude, like, what the fuck is happening? Is he coming or not?" He's like, "He's thinking."
Hold on, he's thinking about it, right? I'm like, "What the fuck is he thinking about?" He just has this thing that he does. So
I'm like, "All right, cool. I'll wait for him here. He'll think about it." I'm like, and I still don't think it's Prince. I'm like, I think someone's fucking with me. So Prince walks out of the car, and he's like, "How you doing?" And it was Andy Allo too. I don't know if you guys know. Do you know Andy Allo? Yeah, blouses, right? Do you know who Andy Allo is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So she's from So she's like, she came in with him, and he
That's
comes in.
Crazy. All right.
He fucking okay. Here's one thing. He floats through the restaurant.
Of course.
He walks in. I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's super nice, right? Walks in through the restaurant.
Peacock.
Floats through the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling him, sits in the back, and they have lunch and all this stuff, and then he gets ready to leave. I think he's waiting, and we respect him and not told. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't text anybody. I'm like, hey, Prince is in the restaurant right now, And there was this one woman who sat down, and she's like, oh my God, is that Prince? I'm like, yes, it is. But we told him we respect his space and not tell anybody, right? And we didn't. He had food, and him and Andy were laughing, and I wanted to say, hey, you're my favorite ever. You taught me how to be an artist, all this stuff. That's why in the show, Prince's pictures in the show, right? It's not for sale. It's just in there watching us, right? And he walks out, and he's like, thank you very much. I'm like, fuck him. I should have fucking told him, what I thought, anyways. So he got up and left. But I swear to God, he fucking floated through the restaurant.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, he's Prince, so he knew. You know what I mean? Like, he knew.
Yeah, he knew. Vibrational being.
Yeah, but you know what, though, too? It's like, I'm like, I checked the security cameras.
You probably attracted him there, Ruben. Hello.
Well, but I checked the security camera. And he fucking sat the only place where it was a blind spot in the camera. And I was like, fuck, I couldn't even fucking tell anybody that Prince was there, and I wanted to film it, and I was like, motherfucker, like you had to sit there where the fucking fan was at in your face. So all you saw was like this thing.
Probably saw that.
Yeah, we never got him there. But I did touch him one time at Harlow's though. Yeah. I mean, not in an inappropriate way, but in a Prince way. I was like, ow. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but it was, yeah. Yeah, see, saludos and buenas noches. Hey, Teresa, ¿cómo estás? Yeah. So, let's see, we have another one here. Your Prince voice is killing me, so there you go, see? Yeah, but you know what it was? It was an energy exchange, right? Absolutely. It really was, we locked eyes.
Hey.
But we did, I was like, you are my favorite person ever, And so, then he passed away after that, so it was a traumatic experience for me too, right?
Yeah, but we need. But on Prince transitioning, like y'all, when you need somebody, call your people, reach out and call who you love, call who you trust.
Yeah,
talk to
and you know what, and also tell people what you feel about them, right?
Yeah. So
and that's one thing I learned. I tell people how you feel about them, because you never know if you ever meet them again, or that's just in life in general, right? Tell people you love them, because you do. Yeah. You never know when's the last time you're going to see them again, right?
That's right.
So,
and just in general, you know what I mean? Like, so many of us like battling shit that like isn't on the surface, and that we don't show folks, you know what I mean? And like sometimes like that little Facebook message, that little quick like, yo, I see you, I appreciate you, I'm here, like that shit means the world, you know what I mean? Like, even when you think people are the strong ones, even when they're the people who are like working to support the community and be a light, like that shit takes effort, you know what I mean? So like, make sure, we lost some folks this year who were those lights, you know what I mean? Like, due to that depression and that anxiety and that overwhelming just dark, you know what I mean? So when you have a chance, or it comes to your mind to like, yo, I should like shine a little spark in that person's light, like they may need that light, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially the creatives out here, we talking about this heavy lift.
You're right.
Lifting the vibration and the energy that's heavy sometimes, you know what I mean? So, make sure that if you've got anyone in your life, not just the creatives, but
everyone, right? Everyone, right? Because we never know, right? Because I think we all went through, I know Andru has, respectfully, went through a lot of stuff this year. I think a lot of people have went through a lot of stuff that we never got a chance to emote to, and to look forward to, like, because we are a community, we are vibrational beings, we all like feel, right? And as much as we create, there also is loss too, and we just have to admit, accept that. I mean, accept in a way of like a respect, right? And a lot of times, we celebrate people after they pass away, but we need to celebrate people when they're alive still, you know, because they need to know that we respect them. They need to know that, like, they gave us this pathway, right? And we talk, and the cool part is that we do talk about the youth, right? The youth is awesome. They're doing their own stuff, right? But they're on the first chapter of the life, right? That's like reading a book for the first chapter. Like, but older people that have been here, like I'm learning more about the Chicano Royal Air Force. I'm learning about more people here in Sacramento that I didn't know because I was on a musical journey during that time. I wasn't an artistic, so I didn't know about them, right? And I'm learning now more and more and more. But I'm like, holy shit, this is who the people I should be homage to, is because they built that pathway for me to go through, right? They built these roads, you know, and as much as I love what the youth are doing too, but that is they're writing their first chapter of their book while these other people are finishing their book, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I respect that too, because
I'm at the climax.
Yeah,
there you go. See,
Sam definitely talked about that in his talk with Luis earlier this week.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. And so, you know, and that's what I feel. Like I said, you know, I'm just learning. I'm learning about Sacramento, just like Leo. You know, we talk about this too, about being here, and about like I'm learning about your parents, right? I've seen them, right, and I appreciate them because I've seen them. You know, I mean, I don't know the story, which I want to know the story
Oh my gosh.
of them,
Talking
right?
to my dad on the porch
I
time.
know. Yeah, but Andrew said, you know, I asked Andrew today too. You know, I was like, yeah, he's like, yeah, you know, it's like they're always, you know, just the beautiful stories that I never really got into. You're right, but I want.
My
to
dad
know.
is trying to drive to Colorado for a conference right now. Like my dad's like, help me get this, you know, Vita together. And is this okay? I'm like, Dad, not 20-point font. No.
Yeah, see,
Calm down. You know.
it is the land of many
he's on
stories.
his laptop and his Mac, you know, like his desktop, and he's like angry because they're not talking to each other. And I was like, calm down, Dad. And that's what I think Soul was like, respectfully, like, I want to be a barista, right? Like, Soul carries a lot being my wingman with taking care of our parents, because my parents 80 plus, 70 plus, Mama's 75,
Yeah.
Papa's 80, 84. They're still like,
Yeah.
let's organize this. Let's raise this. Like, let's make these 100 masks. Let's make these 100.
Well, you know, but you know what's so funny? I'm like, you're like,
Spaghetti.
yeah, you know, send me the what do you call it? The information for the tags. I'm like, I just made one. It's so fucking hard to make one tag. You know, I was like, I just can't send that. You know, I made one. I'm like, fuck, I'm cutting it. I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm
That
doing.
is
You
not
know?
to make your tag. Right.
Yeah, and I'm like, so I'll send it to my. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm like, all right, you know, but this is also too what I want to say. You know, I when I interviewed David Ragul, right?
Mhm.
Rasul, yeah, Rasul. He, you know, we went through all these posters. I'm like, holy shit, the history in Sacramento is fucking insane, right? And I tell my friends in LA also, I'm like, you don't know how much money they're actually pouring into the arts, right?
You
right,
know,
and that's the thing that I'm like, but you understand, like, you know, I think that we're coming to an understanding where how important culture in the arts are, right?
Yeah.
And we all have to stand up for our own culture, right? We all have to stand up for, like, you know, it's what I said when I told this these people today at the 3200 Broadway. I'm like, so I had to throw in some Mexican stuff so people know that I'm Mexican, rather than just being like art, you know, like trees and, you know, all this like vibrational stuff, right? And I meant that in a good way too, right? I meant that, like, you know, we have, as Mexican artists, we do other things besides, you know, the Virgen de Guadalupe stuff, right? Which I love too. I keep the Virgen de Guadalupe as a symbol of my mom's, right? And you know, like, I as a spiritual person, I have Buddha, Kuan Yin, you know, Ganesh. They all have helped me in some time.
Absolutely.
So I will respect them and keep them with me, right?
Absolutely.
Right, and you know, and being, of course, you know, it is one of those things that, you know, we all look at, you know, and we all have like our spiritual paths, right?
Yeah.
And so, but also you know, in looking as human beings, right? How much we emote, how much like Andrew said, how much trauma that we went through, and all this stuff. Like, I think we're on a different level of a spiritual plane to an evolution too, of how we look toward each other. And I think that this group right here, and people that we know that come to this place, you know, in the space that Leo has I don't know, designed, or maybe just came to a place, is a very spiritual energy place where you come in and let the world's problems are not there, right?
Yeah.
Drink some tea.
Yeah.
Drink some earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
speaking of earth, and speaking of those the rich history here, since we are in Oak Park, I definitely want to lift up and acknowledge a spirit that transitioned maybe about 16 years ago, but is alive and well in all the things that I see creative in Oak Park. And that is our brother, our beloved, my brother's wife's father, Armando Sid,
Yeah.
and his wife, Josephine Talamantes of, Chicano Park, the only Chicano anything on the National Historic Preservation Site list. And
Yeah.
that fight took over 30 years. And she was at the fight at the beginning as a teenager to claim the space and secure the space right next to her mom and her friends. And she's there now opening a museum under the, convertible
Yeah.
museum of the murals. But I bring them up because of everything that you're talking about. Armando was actually, like, in the end of his life, a reverend. He's a very spiritual being, and Josie's a very spiritual being. And their teachings were not only about the arts admin world or the arts fundraising world, in which they were both my mentors, but it was also about the charging that I'm telling you about, like the charging of the space and the charging
Yeah.
of the time that you're passing on these traditions. And Josie always said, pasándolo con gusto,
Yeah.
passing on all that we've learned with pleasure and with honor, so that the young or the old, like whoever you're passing on the lessons to, like, you mentioned, Leo, the elder coming in and asking you about sassafras, and saffron and all these, like, when you pass an exchange, that you do it with love and with light and without like an expectation, right? But the Katrina that you have in there, and the story that you told me about your friend from Tower, who was transitioning, and you got to see them in
Yeah.
that time. It spoke so much to me, because both Josie and Armando were a part of Dia de los Muertos in a way that is very different from so many people.
Yeah.
Armando, worked with people that worked alongside Posada, the artist in
Yeah.
Mexico, who was a political cartoonist who was all about exposing the bourgeoisie through these caricature, muertos, the Catrina. There's like making fun of the rich, right, and
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
playing with death. And the way people celebrate Day of the Dead right now happened because of Armando Sid and the
Yeah.
people working with him, Stan and all, like reviving Dia de
Yeah.
los Muertos in a California, in a Chicano way.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
It's not
Yeah.
because people were in tuned, and now, people are learning from other things and other mediums. But those are the shoulders that we stand on. And very
Yeah.
early, I mean, they had a book that was in libraries and schools teaching the people about how Sacramento did Day of the Dead. And
Yeah.
that came out of, Brown Berets and Black Panthers working together at, the Washington Neighborhood Center,
Yeah.
having the Breakfast Club, the free breakfast program, Breakfast Club, having the free breakfast program, and, barrio art happening. And it was because Black and brown folk were working in sync. Indigenous and their indigeneity was, coming into a way of like building even universities like DQ. So we have a very rich culture of these, and then within the Chicanos and the Black communities, there were, intermarriages with Chinese communities, with Japanese communities, with Filipino communities, with Irish communities. And so it was like that much richer, right? And I think that's why Sacramento is what it is today, because those are the shoulders, those are the roots that we come from and that we are weaved out of, right? Or woven from. That's why I'm wearing this altar on my shoulders, as I like to say. And wearing huipiles, I'm always reminded of like the continuous weaving that we have to do of our vibrations, of our souls, of our knowledge, of our responsibilities, of our healing. It's like really, really important,
Yeah,
Essence.
yeah.
Essence.
Like, and just this intergenerational connection is so important. Like I've seen the benefit of that. You've worked in the arts for a long time. How do you think we facilitate more of that intergenerational connection, where the youth are learning from the elders, but also the elders are having their fires for creativity ignited by the young people?
Having more of more talking circles, more listening circles, and more centering of indigenous way of learning, indigenous ways of like really acknowledging whose land and whose people we are guests of, and co-conspirators of with, and shifting the paradigm of, the more those who have not always having more, but those who have really sharing out, and teaching our young people about the various leaders in the indigenous communities, here is really important. And not only the leaders, but the practitioners, the healers, the singers, the dancers, the writers, just looking at, Black leadership, indigenous leadership, and leadership that has always been here, but those who have power have said we're not going to center them, we're not going to center them. So it's like listening and working alongside, and like Leo says, bringing in the knowledge and the wisdom of these cultures in a way that is respectful, in a way that is approachable, accessible, creating safe spaces.
Yeah. And I love that, when Leo talked about this lady came in and told, off, we can learn from everybody, right? Doesn't matter what their mental capacity is, doesn't matter what their spirituality is. If we listen, we can hear what we can hear people, right? And that's the whole thing. It's we lost the power of listening, right? We just, we're always going to debate everybody, but there's no need to debate. You just need to listen to what people are saying, right? You need to find out what their suffering is, right? The main ingredient, what all of us are going through, right, is suffering, right? And so, it's funny because the longer we go, the more people we attract because of Facebook, just the algorithms, right? But we want everybody to come out tomorrow to 3200 Broadway, coffee and tea, right, for the show tomorrow, the Tao of this and that. And although it is an art show, what I really want to emphasize, it's a show of energy and manifestations and good energy there, and what has been created there is, the artwork's cool. I mean, it's kind of cool. But
ladies and gents,
right?
I need to curate a space.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We all have to go
very early.
Yeah. So we're all going to be, there tomorrow night, right? I mean, tomorrow day. So everybody come out tomorrow at 3000 Broadway, and we'll come see what we're talking about. So we talked about it. We wet your whistle and come out and check it out. It'll be some cool stuff, and guaranteed. I'm just going to read some tea leaves, right?
And
I'm reading tea leaves all afternoon.
Yeah, and everything on the wall and then some is available for purchase to support the artists on their leap and on their trust of themselves, being a full-time artist all the time, every day, every night. Not only is the work available for sale and for investment and for celebration, but there are prints available. There are NFTs available. So talk to your artist about that process and opportunity.
We'll talk about NFTs. That's a whole different story. That's a whole different game,
And come get your tea on, y'all. Come get your tea on.
3200 Broadway. Hold on.
3200 Broadway, tea and coffee. Come on out. You'll love it.
Dreams, Leo.
That's right. Leo, we'll see you tomorrow. I might need some more tea of that stuff that you gave me, so.
Everybody else, thank you for coming out. Andrew, thank you.
Andrew, thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you all.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. That was a great co-hosting. I love that you had controls at some point too.
Yeah, we did it.
All right, well, have a good night. You guys stay on for a second, and we have a thank you here. Thank you for sharing your gifts. There's so much love tonight. Thank you. Yeah, that's what we'd love to do. So come out to 3200 Broadway, and we will see you